Hey everybody, welcome back to the Driveway Engineer. Today I'm going to go over a little bit of troubleshooting with you guys. Because this is not reality TV, I just want to share with you some of the stuff that I struggle with. You know, everything does not go together for me correctly the first time. It doesn't fire off the first twist of the key, etc., etc. So in the spirit of kind of keeping it real, I want to show you guys what I'm struggling with right now here on the C10. As I showed you in the last video, the pinkish wire right below my thumb there, that's your 12 volts into the cab. And I've supplied it with 12 volts for testing because I like to test this stuff before I button it all up. And what I should get is on this wire on this wire right here by my thumb, this goes to the coil originally. So in crank, run, any position switched on, this should have 12 volts. I should get 12 volts out. And I was going to use that to power my PCM. Switch it on. With 12 volts in, I'm not getting 12 volts out. So that could be because my ignition switch is bad. But my ignition switch was good before I took this all apart and did all of this. So I think that what I'll do is pull this hot wire out, jam it into the block directly, and see if it works then. Just basic troubleshooting. I'll test for 12 volts in the cab then. I'm not getting it right now. So somewhere between here and out is bad. But I haven't ruled out this bulkhead connector yet. So a lot of people like to just jump on, you know, oh, the ignition switch. Well, you got to stop and ask yourself, was the ignition switch bad before? If not, it could be bad now. I'm not ruling it out, but let's start a little further up the line and go from there. So I'll be back once I have that worked out, and I'll show you guys what I came up with. What I've done here is I've just directly connected the cab to 12 volt power, bypass this bulkhead as a cause altogether, and looking for a place to test for power. Bear with me, you know the drill, one-handed, blah blah blah. I'm checking my headlight switch, which should be hot all the time. It's difficult for me to find the ground. So I don't have a good ground, which is why it's going all wild, but you get the idea that I am. There we go. I'm definitely getting power into the cab. So that pretty much brings me down to the ignition switch as a cause. So I'll drop this column so that I can get the ignition switch, and we'll continue. So this escalated, and sometimes there's no way. You can try Googling, you can try asking on the internet, but you just have to pull it apart and see what you're dealing with. So it would seem that what I'm dealing with is that my ignition switch is powered input on this red wire. If we trace this red wire back, there's a red wire on each connector. We trace them back. They go through this for some reason. I don't know if the factory did that or if somebody else did it. They go all the way back to here, to that part of the fuse block, and to that part, or this part of the bulkhead, and this part of the fuse block. So it would seem that the ignition must get its power from the heater. I don't know. I do know that powering that part of the fuse block gives me 12 volts. So something's goofy. At times, life is rough and capricious. So see that wire that I poorly soldered in there? That's from the 12 volt feed. And over here, that wire that I poorly soldered is the feed to the ignition switch. For whatever reason, there was a wire, it was like a jumper that went from the feed into the cab over to the switch. It wasn't there. So I soldered that in, and now what I get when I check is 12 volts. 11.1, that's because I've been goofing around all day and there's no alternator. So 12 volts in on the red, 12 volts out on the pink. In theory, I should be able to put this together. I can hear the throttle. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but the PCM is powering up, the throttle is powering up. So I can come out here and check my fuel pump signal to see if that's powering up, and we'll go from there. What I've done here is I jammed my probe into the fuel pump relay wire. What you'll get on an LS is like it's like a 2-second prime or something like that when it powers up. When you hit the key, it'll prime for a few seconds, then if it doesn't detect a fire, if the crank signal doesn't send out a signal, it'll shut off. So we should see this go up. There it goes, and I just heard it click off, and there it goes. Now, to take this a step further, to do it with the key, let me see how it works with the key, sort of ish. Hold on, let me put this on a tripod and I'll work. It's wired up, it's on. I'm gonna go in and work the key and see what that gets me real quick. Okay, so that's working the way it should. So I can go ahead and put that bulkhead connector back together properly and worry about these plugs a little bit. So yeah, stay tuned. I'll keep working on it. That's the troubleshooting process that I go through, though. I'll probably wrap that up and make this a whole video. So again, you can find me on Facebook at The Driveway Engineer or whatever. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.